Hey everybody, and welcome to my tool mod tutorial. I will briefly walk you through all the basic functions of tool. And by the end of this video you should be able to take your first steps with this mod yourself. So let's jump right in. First of all, you need to know if you only download the tool mod, it'll only be available in live mode or live mode or whatever you want to call it, which is what I'm in right now. So I will show you quickly how to use tool in live mode, and then we'll go to build by, which I personally prefer. In order to activate an object, you will shift click it, so hold down the shift button and click the object, and there is tool, and all the basic tool functions are here. Okay, we'll close that again. I prefer using tool in build mode, which is where we go now. If you want to use tool in build mode, you have to download BetterBuildBuy, which is another mod by the tool mod creator Twisted Maxi. I highly recommend it, not just because of tool, but because it's awesome on its own already. Okay, then let's get into it. In order to open tool from build mode, you need to click Shift and T, and there is your menu. The first thing you probably want to do, if you've only just installed tool, is to go into options, change settings, and then you can set dialog position. So you can choose where you want your dialog to be. I prefer it right here on the right, and click OK. Note that there's an undo and a redo button here in the options. The regular undo redo won't help you when you're using tool. When you have this thing open, use those undo and redo buttons. Go back. Okay. The basics. Every object you click while you have this thing open will be activated. No matter which of these you use, design tool, doesn't matter. We'll just activate the object. If I want to activate more than one object, I will hold down Alt and click the other object. Hold down Alt again and deselect. Then let's start out with how to move objects. There are several ways that you can do this with tool. Let's start out with the most simple one. I have this tree activated, and I will click over here, and there it is. Click back here, and we have moved it back. If I want to move something in smaller increments, there's an amazing function, my favorite function of tool, which is gravity pull. With gravity pull, you can pull your object basically into any direction you want, just by holding down the Alt button on your keyboard and clicking, and the object will move towards where you're clicking. You have to know that the closer to the object you click, the smaller the increments are that it moves in. The farther away, the larger, or the stronger the pull, I guess you can say. Alright, and the third way of moving something with tool is just clicking the smooth button here, and you'll see a grid appears. And this grid is not always aligned with the build mode grid that you always see. But yeah, that has something to do with the worlds themselves being crooked or something. I highly recommend that you check out the original creator Twisted Maxi's videos about tool for more information on this. But for example, in Newcrest, it usually works pretty well, and the grid is aligned. And you will notice that there's an X axis and a Y axis. So what's important to see where the X and where the Y is in relation to your object, because this will be positive X and this is negative X, and the same for Y. Positive Y and negative Y. And you have to enter a numerical value for both of these here in this window. So enter something for X and enter something for Y always, otherwise the object won't move. For example, if we want to go here, that would be about 2 squares on the x-axis and about 2 squares on the y-axis. So let's try that. 2, 2. Click OK, and the object has moved. If I want to move it just along one axis, say along the x-axis here, that'll be -2 for x and comma and 0 for y, and then it moves just along that axis. We'll get it back to where it belongs. Don't want to move it along X, but want to move it back those 2 squares on the Y-axis. Okay. Those are the ways of moving an object with tool. Let's continue. We'll try to elevate something. Let's take these presents here. Elevate is pretty simple. You just enter a numerical value. Decimals are okay, and it can be positive or negative. So if you want to actually lift your object, you will enter a positive number. If you want to lower it, you will use a negative number. So let's try with 1, and there it is, it's floating in the air. If I enter -1 now, it'll be lowered back to the ground. And you have to experiment with this a bit. If I want to just have ever so slightly floating presents, I can enter 0.1 and it's elevated ever so slightly. Okay. And then we'll rotate something. So, rotation, there are several things here that you can click and we'll go over them one by one. Let's try it with this dude. First of all, I want to pick an axis. So this green circle that you see here is the axis. This is the one that I want to rotate along. And now I will enter a numerical value, which is the degree of rotation that I'm trying to achieve here. I'm going to do 90. And with this, you have to know that you won't always be able to tell which direction your object will rotate. So he could fall on his face now, or you could be on his back. We'll see. Just click OK. And yeah, he's on his face. If I didn't want that, I could just reset rotation and do -90 here. And we have him on his back. Deselect this. So if I go into rotate again, you will notice this rotate around center button. I don't have it activated right now. It is important if I want to rotate several objects at once. So we'll try it with this bench here. First pick up this bench and all the objects that I have used as pillows here with holding down Alt and clicking them. So we get the whole thing. Click over here so we can actually see what we're doing. And now I want to rotate the whole thing. I don't have rotate around center activated, which means that all the objects are rotating around their own center, which is the reason why there are so many circles here. And if I enter 90 now, you'll see it's chaos. We'll go back, reset rotation, and then try it again. This time I'll activate rotate around center and you'll see there's only one circle now because all these objects will now rotate around their common center. So they will move basically as one. If we enter 90 now, it rotates perfectly and stays the way we want it to be. Yeah, so that's where that rotate around center comes into play. Okay. Moving on to scale. We'll pick up the tree again. So in order to scale an object up or down, you will enter a number that is either less than 1 or more than 1. If you enter just 1 and click OK, nothing changes. The object stays exactly as it is. But if we enter 0.1, for example, teeny tiny Christmas tree. And if I enter 10, gigantic Christmas tree. So yeah, you have to play around with that a little bit. Maybe you just want your tree to be just a little bit bigger. We could try maybe 1.3 and there you go. It's a pretty Christmas tree. Deselect. Okay, those are the main functions of Tool. A few more things that you should know. Objects like these candles that are slotted to other objects, in this case the fireplace, you can't use Tool on them. So if I try to move them, for example, by clicking elsewhere, they will just disappear. Undo. And they're back. Yeah. So if you want to use Tool on objects like these, the same applies to chairs that are slotted to tables. You have to remove them from the object they're slotted to first. If I use Tool on this fireplace, however, the objects that are slotted to it will remain. So I can't move them separately, but they will move with the object they belong to. And another function of tool that is very helpful, and I will show you, is the duplicate function. So I want even more presence. Activate your object, hit Shift Alt on your keyboard and click again. And then you have two of the same object. Just demonstrate by pulling it out. Yep, there it is. We have duplicated it. Why is that important? Why can't you just use the eyedropper? Because this will preserve everything you have done to the object already with tool. So for example, this nutcracker here, hold down Shift and Alt, click again, duplicated him, and he's still lying on the floor. I will close tool real quick by hitting Shift and T, use the eyedropper on the nutcracker, and it loses everything I've done to it with tool. Open it again, Shift and T. This function is also helpful if you want to duplicate something that is made up of several objects, like this bench again. Click, hold down Alt, activate the other objects, hold down Shift and Alt, and just click and pull it out. Yep, it is the exact same thing. Everything that you activated was duplicated. And then the last thing that I will show you is how to activate several objects at once without clicking every one of them individually. So we'll go into Options. Here are the settings for groups. In order to activate a whole group, you will draw basically a box around this group. To do that, hold down Shift on your keyboard and click. You've just created this one corner here. If I want to pull the box around the whole room, I will Shift click again back here, and now the box is placed around the whole room. So you basically always place one corner and then the next by Shift clicking. And if I click on Toggle Group now, the whole room is green, meaning the whole room has been activated with Tool. And I can, for example, click over here and everything that was in this room has now moved. Or I can rotate by 180 degrees. And everything that is in this box, or that was in this box, has now been moved. Click on Options again. There is also a function to delete group, which can be pretty helpful if you want to delete a whole bunch of objects at once. And toggle again. Last thing that you might want to do, because this can be pretty annoying, is just hide grouping box. And that's that. Those are the basic functions of Tool. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, drop me a like, maybe subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments below.